Welcome to I'm Not a Porn Star, the podcast that goes beyond the paywall and into the private world of anonymous OnlyFans creators. Here, we talk candidly with faceless women redefining power, privacy and pleasure, one post at a time. No names, no faces, just real stories from creators who choose to keep their identity off camera and on their own terms. I'm your host, The Plumber, and today I'm excited to welcome a guest who's built an entire career behind a screen, proving you don't need to show your face to be seen. Teacher by day, Temptress by night, this MILF loves to explore and try new things. You'll never suspect it, but this girl next door is on a naughty streak. Welcome to the show, Maddie.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
No, thank you for being here. It's lovely to meet you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I've been a teacher for well over a decade. I've got a partner and kids and a whole life outside of this OnlyFans journey of mine, but have been doing that for about 2.5 years, over 2.5 years now. Loving doing that too.
Oh, that's awesome. So, what got you started? What made you decide you want to do OnlyFans?
Yeah, well, the very, very long story short is I grew up in a very conservative environment, religious environment, and had, a lot of shame and surrounding purity culture kind of stuff that I grew up with. And so a lot of my adult life has kind of been healing from that. And somewhere along the way, I discovered that I really love sharing pictures of myself and found that that was something that was a really fun creative outlet for me and a way for me to not allow others to dictate what is or isn't appropriate to share of myself. And found that it was really fun. And so that's kind of where I started.
Okay, so a little bit of exhibitionism, I suppose. You really like
a great discovery of mine.
Yeah. So how long was that sort of? Were you doing that for? Or how did you start doing that? And then did you just start off doing it on OnlyFans, or did you start on Reddit or something?
Yes, I started on Discord, actually. I had started reading these books and I read a lot of smutty books and had kind of this smutty book community that I loved and had a Discord book club that I was a part of. And then that kind of made me look into these other social Discord groups and found some that were, 30 up and had a lot of people who were already posting on Reddit or posting just on that within those Discord servers. And I was like, well, I kind of want to try. That looks fun. And it was a lot of fun. And so I did that for a while. And then eventually someone in one of those servers was like, you should start an OnlyFans. It's like, interesting thought. And I kind of planted a seed that grew.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting. I mean, I know a few people who've started in the same sort of scenario. They just love showing themselves off. And then they got to a point where it was like, you know what, I should be making money from this. Why am I not making money? And then it's just, snowballed from there. So it's really good. You're doing it for the right reasons as well. There's no wrong reason, but you're doing something you just enjoy for a start. So, it really, really says something about yourself. And I guess it leads to another question, how do you define your online persona versus your real life? But it sounds like they're one and the same. You are who you are.
Pretty much. Yeah. So it makes it really easy on OnlyFans to just, I don't really have to subscribe to a persona because it is just what I enjoy. And so I really do bring a lot of myself into my page. That's a big part of it is just, I'm doing this because I like it, because it's fun.
Yeah, being you, being the real you, and that's what we get. Because, obviously, at the moment, there's sort of a big thing going on, sort of with a subscriber base, where they're starting to feel like who they're subscribed to is not a real person, or they're just faking it, they're putting it on just for the money and for fame or whatever it is. A bit like what you could say influencers on social media, that it's all fake it and stuff like that. But, I guess that's part of this podcast is to show other people that no, it's, you are who you are and it's not an act. The majority of the girls doing this really, really just enjoy doing it. Put it aside that it can be another job. Um, so, what were your biggest fears or hesitations when you sort of first, I guess, before OnlyFans, because you're already, out there? What were your biggest fears about doing it, just with your background and stuff?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, privacy was a huge concern of mine. I do live in a very conservative area, and so like being seen or exposed by people who know me, like who know that I'm a teacher, who know my family, like that was a concern. Like you see online, or I mean, you see from time to time people say, especially teachers and people in professions that are like teaching, um, who have OnlyFans and then they are exposed and lose their job and that kind of thing. So that was always a concern, and that's really the main reason that drove me to do this without most of my face showing.
Yeah, remaining anonymous, and that's your driver behind
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
That's probably one of the better reasons you could ever have for it. Um,
yeah, for sure.
so how do you juggle being a teacher and a mum and OnlyFans on the side? How does that work for you?
Well, I have always been someone who really likes to like multitask and likes to be in a lot of things at once, and so that has definitely helped. But it is a lot. So I think part of me sharing so much of who I am on my page allows people to see that I'm also a teacher, I'm also a mom, I have a life as well. So I'm not online like 24/7, but they I've never had issues with that. Like people always understand and they like that I'm a full person too, and so it giving myself grace is one thing that's kind of hard, but my subscribers always give me grace for it, at least, and I just try my best to stay on top of things and stay as organized as I can.
Oh, that's good. So you're thriving off the stress of, I've got to do this, and I've got to do this, and I've got to do this, and I've got to
Yeah,
do this. I'm the same.
I
I
do well
actually,
on those. Yeah.
yeah, I do my best work when I'm really under the pump, when I've got a
Yes.
report due the next day or something, and I haven't done anything. That's my best work. There it is. So
Yeah.
I can
Same.
fully level with you on that. So just juggling all of that, how do you remain anonymous? Have you ever had a slip up, or have you ever posted the wrong thing on Instagram that where it's your whole face or something?
Thankfully, I haven't done that. I did, okay, the only time that I've ever had someone possibly recognize me, and I don't even know for sure if they did, but I was at a concert recently in the last year, and someone came up to me and she was like, I really love your tattoos. They look so familiar, because I obviously I don't cover those. It's just more effort than I'm willing to take. And I was like, oh, thanks. I appreciate it. And she was like, are you from some other state, wherever she was coming from? It's like, no, I'm not. And she's like, well, I really feel like I've seen them before. I was like, oh, okay. Maybe my tattoo artist has been there. I don't know. And then I just kind of moved on. But we were in line for a while for that concert. Every time I glance over, she and her friends were like staring intently at me. And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, like my tattoo's great, but like that's a little excessive. So like maybe that. But I mean, other than that, I've been very fortunate that I haven't had anyone recognize me or say they recognized me. And I kind of do tend to be a private person in real life too. So like my social circle's fairly small anyway, but that probably helps a little too.
Oh, that definitely would help. That's a bizarre one, but you recognise on your tattoos.
I mean,
That's
I don't
odd.
know. Maybe she did just really like my tattoos. But it was a
Maybe,
little
yeah, maybe.
intense.
They are really lovely, by the way. So,
Thank you.
um, but so is the rest of you. So, look,
Well, thank you.
what would be your plan if you did get discovered? If someone come up to you one day and was like, "I know what you do," do you have a plan, or is it just you're just going to see what happens?
Yeah. Yeah, well, so that's something that has evolved definitely over the last 2.5 years. I mean, that is something that would have stressed me out a lot at the beginning. Now that I've been in it for so long and like I am very confident in why I'm on OnlyFans and like proud of what I do on there. It's not as much of something that is scary if someone does say they know me or they recognize me. Honestly, my plan would just be, to say, cool, yeah, like I have a really great setup and I'm happy and fulfilled, like just kind of confirm and move on. And
Yeah,
hopefully
yeah.
it's not,
I
yeah,
love what I'm doing. Ooh, I love what I'm doing, and
yeah,
I really enjoy it. Just, you know, leave me to it.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. Sort of comes to another question here.
Hmm.
Um, what content best works for you? Because obviously you're a faceless creator, and there are a lot out there, and I think it's a bit of a common theme with faceless creators. They have to have a niche. You know, it's like if you're not going
Yeah,
to show your face, you have to have a niche. What do you
yes.
feel yours is? What do you really push into?
Um, well, it's not really that I push into it a whole lot, but being a teacher is huge. I mean,
Yeah,
so many people are into teachers. I mean, myself included, like I love teacher stuff and like professors and all of that. Like I'm into it too, so I agree. And so that's one niche, I guess. But honestly, I don't lay into that a ton on OnlyFans. Like I do some, but really just being authentic in myself is the biggest thing. Like I am always sharing excitement about real life things. Like if I'm doing something, I'm sharing my excitement about it. I'm sharing about my interests. I like a lot of nerdy stuff. So like I bond with my fans over those. But between that and teacher content, that's kind of encapsulates most of my niches.
yeah. Well, I guess what I'm picking up from you is your personality is one of your strongest qualities here, and you're relying on
Yeah,
that mostly, and
yeah,
that's great. That
definitely
is
personality driven.
Yeah, that is great. So what's one thing other than your personality?
Hmm.
How do you keep your fans engaged? How do you keep them coming back for more without going, oh, you know what? Here's my face. Have this.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great question. I do a lot of voice notes. I use my voice as much as possible because I feel like it's, one of the next best ways to really feel like you are engaging with me. And I want my fans to know, like, it's really me that you're talking with and that you're, singing. So I do a lot with my voice. I do audio, like story times a lot. If something really hot happens, like in real life, like I'm giving a story time about it, I'm really sharing, things that happened in my life. So I have, real conversations with people and get to know them. I do have like a Discord server that is kind of like a companion to my OnlyFans. And so I have people who join that and we have, just like more chill environment that is just kind of like a hangout spot. I really end up building connections with these people and that lasts. And so I have people who've hung out with me for, 2 years now or like over a year. And because we know each other.
Yeah, you've developed that personal relationship with your subscribers,
Yeah.
and that's what keeps them there. And that's I'd say maybe only 30% of the creators that I know of actually put that effort in to get to know
Hmm.
their subscriber base and build relationships that way instead of just here's another $20 video, here's another $20 video. It's like, no, I'm going to spend some time, I'm going to talk with you, and then we'll go from there. So
Yeah.
what what's something that you think people completely misunderstand about being an OnlyFans girl?
Um, I mean, people often think that it's just easy money, like they think, oh, just go sell feet pics, you'll be a millionaire. Like, but they underestimate like how much time and effort and work is involved. It is a lot, and it's, what you get out of it, it directly comes from how much you put into it. And I'm getting a lot out of being on OnlyFans, but that's because I'm putting a lot into it. It's, a lot of creative effort and a lot of just emotional effort and physical effort. All of the above goes into that.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's everyone hears it, oh, sell some feet pics, make some money. It's like, no, 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 it's not that easy. It's very, very
Right.
difficult. There's a lot of work to go. Um,
Right.
you know, it's such a big investment of time into it, and not just time.
Yeah.
You know, you need to be good. You need to keep up with some trends, especially with your
Yeah.
promotions. So,
So
on
much research
Instagram,
is involved. Yeah.
yeah, like a lot of time really goes into doing this to be even moderately successful. I know
Hmm.
people who do this as a full time job. You know, they've quit their day job, and
Yeah.
they're making about what you'd normally make on. I don't know what your minimum wage is there in the States, but
Yeah.
making a
Making
minimum
that for sure.
wage.
Yeah. Or more.
Yeah, and then at the other end of the spectrum, there's girls who make millions. Literally, they will make millions
Right. Right.
of dollars. So, but it's something that a lot of people don't know, that well, they had to start somewhere, and it took a lot of work for them to get even to a point where they can start to live even slightly comfortable. So it's
Yes.
really good. You're consistent with the other girls that I've interviewed in saying that it's the work you put in that is the
Hmm.
biggest misunderstanding about OnlyFans. So it's quite
Yes.
good to hear that. Which leads to the other question. At what point did you start to think you were, successful? When did you go, oh, you know what, I'm doing quite well at this now? Was it 2 months? Was it 6 months? Was it a year? Or did it just you never really thought about it too much?
Honestly, like I don't know if I still like I don't know if I felt that yet. Like I feel like there's always so much more that can be done, and like there's always so much room for growth that like I'm constantly looking forward, looking, ahead at what I can do better. And um I started this out like super hobby level. Like I was just happy to, make a couple extra $100 or something and was thrilled about it. And so uh, for a while, that was kind of where I stayed, and then I started, making a little more, and then having more people come and hearing feedback from fans who were joining me, and like that was really encouraging. Um, and like really honestly, just in the last few months, I have started feeling like, wow, like I could actually make this be something that's a big part of my life, And so I would say the first year and a half, I was just very hobby level. And then in the last year, I've kind of thought, hey, I'm getting better at this. Like I'm doing okay. And I've got a good space that I've kind of created here. So yeah,
Yeah.
it took a
So
while.
yeah, that's a good timeline. You've done a year and a half before you've even start to really see something where you can actually think, oh, this is going quite well. So, I mean, look, everyone's
Yeah,
got their own indicator of what well is. To me,
definitely.
if I could sell something for $3, I'm doing great. So,
Yeah, just selling anything at the beginning was awesome. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I guess a lot, as I was saying earlier, a lot of women share that same thing. It's 6 months to 12
Hmm.
months is just nothing. Don't expect to earn anything. 12 months onwards, you'll start to see an uptick. To what degree? As you said earlier, you get out of it what you put in, um, which, it can be quite difficult. So I keep reading quite a bit now, and it's, a lot of it's fake. Well, a lot of it's not fake. A lot of it's, bot accounts and just stupid accounts like
Hmm.
that. But do you feel in your sort of area or what you're targeting, do you feel market saturation? Do you think there's a lot of other content creators doing the same sort of stuff that you are? Do you get concerned by that, or do you think, you know what, not my problem, I'm not going to worry about it?
Really, that is not something that I personally worry about too much. I mean, I know that there is a huge market, and there are a lot of creators out there, and like that is something that I could think about. But like that's not something that I can control at all. So I can only, control what I'm doing on my page. And I can, learn from others who are doing better than I am. And I try to do that all the time, especially with promotion, because that's probably the area that like does not come as easily and naturally to me as running my own page. And so there's always, others who are doing more or doing better. And there are a lot of people out there who are doing this and all kind of go like seeking the same goals. But that's okay. There's are enough people out there that just because someone else is doing well doesn't mean that I can't also. So
Yeah. Okay, so it doesn't hold you back. You're not feeling held back or
right.
anything by it. It's competition more or less. So
Yeah.
what do you do to sort of develop new content and get new ideas for your promotional and stuff? Are you following the trends set by others that you might be following on socials, or are you going more by what your subscribers are seeming to like more? What's your mix, or are you a mix of both?
Definitely a mix of both. On social media, a lot of what I do on social media follows trends. If I see a lot of something, I'm like, hey, I'll try that. Why not? I love trying new things. That's something that really got me into OnlyFans. I was like, that's something new. Let's try it. But a lot of what I do and what I produce comes directly from conversations with the other people on my OnlyFans, the people who subscribe there, and the conversations we have. It inspires most, I would say, at least half, if not more, of the kind of content that I make, because someone will say, "Hey, I saw you did this. Have you done this?" I'm like, "No, I haven't. Let's try it." And um, I get a lot of inspiration from them. But this is a huge creative outlet for me, and so I love the creativity of it and coming up with new and different things, but also piggybacking off of the conversations that I have.
Yeah, of course. You're always going to take in sort of what the market's doing, or what
Hmm.
other creators are doing. You're going to take that on board, but it's refreshing to know that more and more creators are just doing what their fans want them to do. They're not following
Yeah.
a trend being set by someone who might have a completely different ideas on how they do their stuff. So, you know,
Hmm.
I feel for you especially, you're very personality driven with your subscriber base.
Hmm.
So doing what they are requesting, or what they are sort of yearning for, that fits that mold. It fits that mold
Yeah.
really, really well. So, quick one: what's the weirdest request you've ever had? Weirdest,
Uh,
whatever you want to call it in that sense. It could be I don't know. You tell me.
okay. Goodness. The weirdest request that I had was for a photo set, and someone had wanted me to kind of act out having been impregnated by an alien. Um, and so that was a new one for me. And I mean, like I've watched like hentai and stuff before. Like that I understand where he was coming from, and he kind of told me a little bit about like what he was looking for, like more in depth. And um so he kind of showed me, this is what I'm looking for. Like, can you make some photos of this? It's like, yeah, sure. And so I did. And it was, thankfully, it was just photos because I don't know if my skill of acting would have worked in video form for that. Might be a little bit past my acting abilities, but I mean, I made a little photo set of it, and I have never had anything quite to that level since then.
That sounds incredibly interesting. I'm not going to lie.
It
Was that
was. It really was.
was that one of those? I can't remember the name for them, but was using one of those like alien egg
The
impregnator things?
ovipositors or whatever.
That yeah,
No, it
yeah.
was not. It was not. I did not have to use one of those or anything. It was just like kind of a giving birth kind of
Oh,
feel to it. So that was a little bit different too. Although I have kind of played around. Someone did gift me one of those Bad Dragon ovipositor toys. So I've done a lot of different things. Like
I,
honestly,
I,
like people come to me and they're like, okay, you say on your bio, like, you don't kink shame, right? I'm like, "Yeah, bring it to me. Let's hear it." And so
Yeah, no,
we
I
try a
love
lot of different things.
that. That's awesome. That's really, really, really good. And I guess
It's fun.
this can also be another platform to share that. That hey, I've got an ovipositor, whatever you call it. So
I do.
no, I love that. I think you'd be the first person I've ever actually heard of that's got one. Um, I mean,
Yay,
obviously
I'm glad to
everyone's
be the
got.
first.
Yeah. Okay. We'll come back off. We're going a little bit off
Yeah.
track. We'll go back on track a little bit.
Sorry.
What's your trying to think about what's your relationship with your body now that you since you started doing this? So, your self-image, your self-worth, has it changed, or do you feel more empowered by it? Or tell me what
Yes.
your thoughts are.
Yes, definitely the empowerment is huge. I started off OnlyFans like from the beginning being a very body positive person. That's something that's really important to me, loving my own body, but then everyone else's too, accepting them as they are. And that's something that, I've had to work at also and grow in personally, sharing myself every single day for 2.5 years. Like my body's gone through changes in the past 2.5 years. And so, um, and I've always, talked about like, this is, what society might say is an imperfection, but like, I'm going to love it anyway. And so saying that, like, I have to, act that too. And so, it's been a good practice of, this is what I'm saying, and here I'm gonna actually like mean it and show myself and not be like ashamed of any part of myself. And um, so it's been a good way for me to practice that and to, love my my whole self. And so it's been really fun. Like I love that. And part of it has been like learning different, poses and different, lighting and things like that that makes your body look even better. And so that's such a huge thing, on social media and everywhere. You're going to share what looks best. And so it's been fun to find things that I really like and find ways that really accentuate that. Those, parts of me that I really love, but then also being able to be comfortable with the parts that I might not initially be really proud of, but being able to say, "Hey, this is part of me," and like I still love it.
Yeah, so now you just own it. You just go, this is me, I love me,
Yeah,
and you all love me too, so get on board.
yeah,
And
yeah,
no, I get it. I mean, unfortunately, guys don't get it, and they just take shit photos all the time, but and send them off to people. But I get it,
that's yeah,
and but in there's a little bit of if you take a photo and you look back on it, you feel good about it yourself. And then if you get that positive reinforcement of, oh, you look great, you look sexy, it's the
hmm
feedback loop. And then you work on it more and you
yes,
work on it more and you get better and better at it until you're
yes,
at those, those full-time porn star quality sort of poses and stuff. And you
yeah,
can look in your own camera roll and go, oh my God, I'm so
yeah.
hot. So in saying that, I guess you'd handle criticism and negativity online pretty well then. It just bounces off you, or do you?
Yeah, yeah, for the most part, yes. And part of that, being a teacher and dealing with all kinds of people all the time has given me a lot of practice of being able to say, like your frustrations are, not necessarily directly at me, it's on something bigger than that. And so I see that a lot in negativity that comes towards me online now. And I have realized that pretty much if I get a negative comment, it 99% of the time, if not 100% of the time, says more about the commenter than it does about me. Um, and I can see that, I can recognize it. Think having, thick skin and being able to do that is very important if you're going to be on OnlyFans or share yourself in that way at all. But yeah, I think I don't get a whole lot, thankfully. Um, when I do, I can either be like, hey, like your comment doesn't affect me, and then they usually block me when they don't get the satisfaction, or I just ignore it, which is what I should do all the time, probably. every once in a while it's fun to let my bratty side come out and be like, okay.
It's totally fine to bite back sometimes, so there's
Yeah,
nothing wrong with
absolutely.
that at
And
all.
it's fun too also sometimes to play a little bit.
Um, do you consider yourself a sex worker? So
Yes.
you do. Do you have a reasoning behind that, or is it,
I
what's your
mean,
thoughts on it? So everyone's got different thoughts, that's all.
yeah, for sure. I think that any kind of, the work that I'm doing is largely sexual, and, I provide a sexual service. Like sext with people, like I share my sexual self with people. And um, I think that the majority of creators on OnlyFans or anyone who's doing that, not safe for work content, like they're sex workers. And it's been um, a good way for me to also be able to advocate for sex workers because I think, there's a lot stacked against them or stacked against us, I should say. And yeah, I'm comfortable claiming that as part of who I am too.
Yeah, no, all the power to you, because there's a lot of stigma and stuff around
Hmm.
sex worker.
For sure.
But you know what? 9% of all that negativity comes from those who are consuming it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's never just, someone who's got nothing to do with it who's always negative about it. It's those who are consuming it directly who seem to have the negative stuff to say about it.
Yeah.
And generally they're doing it just because they're a bully or they didn't get their way or
Yeah.
whatever, mate. Just move on, go away.
Yeah.
You don't need to open your mouth. Just leave us
Yeah.
alone.
Exactly.
Is there a photo set or a certain video, maybe you've done a custom for someone, that is you think it's your best work? You're really proud of it. Whether you look back on it or not, some people do go through their camera rolls and just have a look at what they've
Definitely.
done.
I
What would you
definitely did
think?
that.
What would yours be?
So I love being able to use like my environment and find creativity in just my real life and combine that with OnlyFans. So I think some of my absolute favorite content I've ever made has been there have been 2 days where we've had solar eclipses here and then that we've been able to see. And I've been able to be at home and go outside and, take some nudes outside with the solar eclipse where, like when that happens and the
Yeah,
sunlight goes through like the trees, it leaves little crescent shapes, right? And so like, I have all these crescent shapes like across my tits or my ass. And like the pictures are so cool and I
that sounds
love
incredible.
yeah, I love that kind of thing where I can take like this is a really fucking cool thing that is happening in our world and hey, look, it's my ass too, which I also like.
Well, I like to see this sort of stuff, and that specifically as sexy art, because that's exactly what that is.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. I like
you've
that too.
become an artist, and it's no different to a
Yes.
photographer taking photos of something, and you've made it sexy. And that
Yeah.
honestly sounds incredibly good. That's incredible. I've never heard of that before, to be honest. Like
It was so
I've heard,
fun, yes.
I've heard of people wrapping themselves up with Christmas lights and that sort of stuff, but
Yeah, those are some good ones too. Those are always good
yeah,
pictures.
but that's unique. I've never heard that one. That sounds bloody like a really good idea. Um, have you ever, or do you do collaborations with other faceless women, or even not hiding women?
I just recently have started doing some content with a friend and have girl content for the first time ever, but she's not like she's face out. So she does show her face. And so that has been interesting, knowing that I don't and kind of figuring out how to film that because that's new. Just filming with someone else in general is new for me anyway. And so that's been really fun and exciting. I definitely would be, open to some others. I just haven't had, like, I like being a solo creator, and so most of what I do is that way. But it's also been really fun to have another friend who's doing this that I can take photos and videos with. So that's something new that I'm starting to explore.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All the power to you. So most of your content is just solo content.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay,
mostly. Yeah.
that's
For
pretty
a
cool.
while, I have a little bit of boy girl content too, but like very small amount. It's just this is a really, personal thing for me, creative thing for me, and I kind of, have enjoyed having it as something that's just my own. So
You keep it to yourself. So
yeah, mostly.
so how's your mental health now that you do OnlyFans? Um, you know, some people might take a negative side to it overall. Some people get really positive. What's your experience been?
Yeah, mine's been incredibly positive. I think that OnlyFans has really, benefited me in my mental health. It's strengthened my mental health, I would say, because, it's something I that has been such a big part of my life now for 2.5 years, every single day, that it has made me like have to, control how much time I'm putting into it. And I do have, I have a family and I have other responsibilities too. And so being able to keep myself from putting all of my time into it is something that I've had to work at. And so kind of strengthening my priorities mentally. But also it's been a really great, like I said earlier, creative outlet for me. And it's something that's mine and it's is outside of being a mom, outside of being a teacher. It's something that I'm doing just for me because I love it. And it's, so that's been really nice to have as just, I mean, having a creative outlet is huge for mental health. And so this is my,
Yeah. No, it really is, and that's great to hear. I mean, you've got the same experience that everyone so far has got. It's a really, really positive experience.
mm-hmm,
And a lot of it comes into it, that body image that we spoke about earlier,
yeah.
the creativity, the looking back on the work you've done and just being really proud about what you've done. Have you discovered anything new about yourself since you've been doing, or more because of this? Any new secret kinks that you had lying around dormant you didn't know about until someone was like, "Oh, do you think you could do this?"
Oh, let's look at some aliens. Um, no, like honestly, yes. There, through all the conversations that I have with all these people from all different kinds of backgrounds, I am learning more about myself through learning about other people. They have things that they've experienced that I've never thought of before, or things they're into that I have never considered. And so it's been fun to learn and try new things and see, oh, hey, I'm into this too. This is really fun. I want to do this more. Or learning things I'm like, okay, I tried this. It was an experience. Like maybe not something that I would do for my own enjoyment again, but I've learned something
Yeah,
about myself in doing
yeah.
so. I'm
So in a way,
also
it's sorry, you go.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say I'm also a lot more outgoing online than I am in real life. And so getting to explore being more of an outgoing person, and kind of some different roles that I would than from what I would do like just in my normal life has been fun too.
Yeah, in a way, it gives you there's a bit of self discovery in there, but also a bit of you can try things that you wouldn't be able to
Hmm.
do normally. You can try some
Hmm.
new things and see how it feels, how it might look, how it feels, how it plays out. And at the end of the day, if you don't like it, you can just go, nope, not for me. Or if
Yeah.
you love it, then congratulations, you got a new thing that
Yeah,
you're into. Um,
that's right.
what does what success look like for you in 1 year or 5 years? Have you got a bit of a plan in your head or a goal in your head of what you're trying to achieve?
Well, I tend to be someone who really enjoys taking advantage of opportunities. And so as things as new opportunities arise, I like to grab them, right? So I have a friend who decided to join OnlyFans. Okay, so let's try some new things together. And um, being open to that in the future is something that I'm going to continue to do. And so knowing that, I don't know exactly what this is going to look like 1 year from now or 5 years from now, but I'm open to whatever possibilities there are, you know, and this has been something that I have loved having as part of my life in the last 2.5 years. And I don't have any, like, I have no plan to stop. You know, this is something that benefits my life, that, you know, brightens my life, and I plan to continue it as long as I can. So, the last couple months, I feel like I've really been pushing a lot farther than I ever have before. And so I'd love to continue doing that. The possibility of making, you know, what I make as a teacher is an actual possibility, you know, and so, which I mean, doesn't say a whole lot about teacher pay, but it's, you know, it's something that, like, if I was able to, you know, take a couple of years and just do this, like, that would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
really a fun adventure for me to try. And so, I kind of have that in the back of my head, like, hey, let's keep pushing and see where it goes.
Yeah, see where you end up. Well, hopefully
Yeah.
you end up bloody wherever you want to be, really. So
Yeah.
you put in the work for it. You've got the right attitude. You know, you've got everything lined up for you. It's just, that's the thing. You got to put in the work for it. So
Yes. Yeah.
what is one bit of advice you'd give to someone who's starting out today? Like today, if someone comes to you and says, "Hey, Maddie, I wanna start doing this. Can you give me something?" What would your number one key?
Oh, there's so many things. The biggest one, just to say one, would be research. Do as much research as you can before starting. You know, like, there are creator groups on Reddit, there are creator groups, you know, on Discord. Like, there's a lot of information out there, websites, and just find out as much as you can before starting, is the biggest thing. That, you know, learn as
Yeah,
much as you can and then go.
don't just assume it's a couple of pictures a day and off
Yeah.
you go. There's definitely a heap of research to do before you consider doing it. By all means, if anyone's listening to this and they're thinking about doing it, I mean, hopefully we've just discussed it can be quite a rewarding thing to do. So hopefully it's not discouraging anyone from actually starting. But yes, key, do your research and don't expect to make money straight away, because you're not going to. Unless you're already famous and then you start doing
Yeah,
it.
if you've got a following already, sure. But if you're starting from scratch, you know, it
Yeah,
takes time.
no, definitely. Look, that brings us to the end of this episode. I really, really appreciate having you on, Maddie. It's been lovely. Talking with you has been really, really good and eye-opening in some ways. So I think we'll end it there.
Awesome.
To our listeners, thanks for tuning in. If you've enjoyed this episode, please make sure to follow the show and share it with others. I'm the plumber, and this is I'm Not a Porn Star.
Thank you.